In this lesson, I am going to give you the roots or the zeros or the solutions, and you are going to see if when you FOIL those back out or multiply them back out, do you end up with the quadratic equation that I gave you? Does it match? Okay? And this is a little bit of a long process. Very easy to make mistakes, lots of different places. So you really want to make sure that you show your work neatly and carefully, okay? So basically what I'm telling you is that in this particular thing right here, I'm telling you that one of the roots is -1 plus 2i, okay? And the other root is -1 minus 2i. The easiest thing, I think, so that you don't make mistakes is that you get those both set equal to 0. So if I get them both set equal to 0, of course I will add 1 and subtract 2i here and move it to the other side. So then what this will look like on the other side is x plus 1 minus 2i equals 0. And over here, I will add 1 and add 2i. And so then on the other side, this will look like x plus 1 plus 2i equals 0. Okay? Now what you want to do is you want to take both of those factors and you want to multiply them. So I will have x plus 1 minus 2i times x plus 1 plus 2i. Okay? Now, you get to multiply those out, which means you get to do a lot of distributing. Okay? So I am first of all going to take this x and I'm going to distribute it through. So x times x is x squared. X times 1 is x. And x times 2i is 2ix. Okay, now I'm moving on to the 1 and I'm going to distribute that. So 1 times x, of course, is x. And 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times 2i is 2i. And now you get to move on to the -2i and you get to distribute that. So -2i times x is -2ix. -2i times 1 is -2i. And -2i times +2i is -4i squared. Okay? So hopefully we're kind of getting this here. Now what we want to do is we want to combine like terms and cancel anything out that we can. So luckily these two here will cancel and these two here will cancel. So that helps. And now what you have left is you have x squared plus, I can combine these two, x plus x makes 2x. And then right here I have this 1, okay? And then I want you to remember that I squared is -1. So what you really have right here is -4 times -1, which gives you +4. Okay, so I have a +4 right there. So I have a +1 and a +4, which I can combine to make 5. So if those are my two roots, then this is the quadratic equation that generates those two roots. And the question is, does it match the equation that I gave you? And in the beginning, this right here is the equation that I gave you, and that's not what I got. So these two roots are not a solution to that quadratic that equation that was given to you. So that's a no. Okay? All right, we're going to do a couple similar ones here. I'm going to actually skip number 2. If you want to try it on your own, we can talk about it in class, but I'm going to skip number 2 and I am going to go to number 3. Okay? Again, very similarly, I have one root that's -3 plus 2i, and another one that's -3 minus 2i. Okay, this one's very similar. I am going to add 3 and subtract 2i to get this equal to 0. So on the other side, this will look like, plus 3 and minus 2i equals 0. Okay, and over here, similarly, I will add 3 and add 2i. So this will look like x plus 3 plus 2i equals 0. Okay, and again, you're going to multiply those two factors out. So I am going to multiply x plus 3 minus 2I times x plus 3 plus 2I. Okay. And again, you're going to distribute these. So here we go. X times x is, of course, x squared. X times 3 is 3x. And x times 2I is 2ix. All right, now we're going to distribute the 3 through. So 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 2I is 6I. All right, moving on. Distribute the negative 2I through. Negative 2I times x is negative 2ix. Negative 2I times 3 is negative 6I. Negative 2I times positive 2I squared is negative 4I squared. All right, so we are going to combine some like terms here again. Thankfully, these cancel with that. And this cancels with this, so that's good. So I have x squared, and then I can combine 3x and 3x to make that be 6x. And then, of course, I have this 9 right here. And again, I have negative 4. I squared is negative 1. So negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. So I have the 9 right here and the 4 right here, which makes 13. And so if you check that compared to what I gave you at the beginning, right here, it does match. And so yes, it is a factor of that quadratic. All right, now we're going to do ones that have a radical in them, so don't be too freaked out about this. We can do this. So here we go. Again, you have one root that is negative 2 plus root 5, and another root that is negative 2 minus root 5. Okay, you want that set equal to 0, and so you're going to move the 2 and the root 5 over, and so when I do that, I will have x plus 2 minus the square root of 5 equals 0. And same thing here. On the right, you're going to add 2 and add root 5 to move it over. So add 2 and add root 5 to move it over so that it's like that. This process is no different so far. The only difference is that you've got radicals in there, but we aren't going to be intimidated by that, okay? So we are going to multiply now. X plus 2 minus root 5 times x plus 2 plus root 5. Okay, and you're going to, again, distribute those. Don't panic here. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. And x times root 5 is root 5x. Okay, and now we'll distribute the 2 through. So here we go. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times root 5, of course, is 2 root 5. Okay, now we will distribute the negative root 5 through. Negative root 5 times x is negative root 5x. Negative root 5 times 2 is negative 2 root 5. And negative root 5 times negative root 5 is negative root 25, which of course is negative 5. All right, now combine your like terms here, and this should go pretty smoothly. So again, I've got some things that will cancel out. This root 5x will cancel with this negative root 5x, which is good. And the positive 2 root 5 and the negative 2 root 5 will cancel, so that's good. And now I have x squared, and then I have 2x here and 2x here, which makes it be 4x. And then here I have positive 4, and I have negative 5, which makes negative 1. Okay, And so the question is, does that equal it? And x squared plus 4x minus 1, at the beginning what I gave you was x squared plus 4x minus 3. So no, this does not match. This is what I get, and no, it does not match. Okay? All right, I am going to skip number 5 because it is very much like number 4. So if you've got a question about it, we can cover that in class. And I am going to get you started on number 6 here. Okay, so again, you've got one root that looks like this, -1 plus I root 15 all over 4. And then you have another one that's -1 minus I root 15 all over 4. Okay, so you, in this case, to get this set equal to 0, are going to multiply both sides by 4 so that that drops out. And then I will have 4x equals -1 plus I times the square root of 15. And then, of course, to move this to the other side, then, I will add 1 and I will subtract I root 15. So this one will look like this. 4x plus 1 minus I times the square root of 15 equals 0. Okay? Very similarly over here, I will multiply both sides by 4. Those will drop out, and I will have 4x equals -1 minus I times the square root of 15. I will add 1 and add I root 15. So I will have 4x plus 1 plus I root 15 equals 0. And now from here on out, you guys, it's just like always, okay? So you will have 4x plus 1 minus I times the square root of 15 times 4x plus 1 plus I times the square root of 15. If you feel like you can handle this, you can fast forward. Otherwise, to the next problem. Otherwise, I will continue to multiply this out here. So here we go. 4x times 4x is, of course, 16x squared. 4x times 1 is 4x. And 4x times I root 15 will be 4xi root 15. All right, and now we multiply by 1. So 1 times 4x is 4x. 1 times 1, of course, is 1. And 1 times I root 15, of course, is I root 15. And I think I need to select these and move them a little bit, or I'm going to be in trouble here. All right, and now we're going to do the blue, or the I root 15, the negative I root 15. So negative I root 15 times 4 would be -4I x root 15. Negative I root 15 times 1, of course, is negative I root 15. And negative I root 15 times positive I root 15 gives you negative I squared. Okay, and then root 15 times root 15 is 15. All right, luckily we have a bunch of like terms that we can kind of get rid of. So that will cancel with that, and this will cancel with this, luckily. And then I have 16x squared right here, and I have 4x and 4x, which makes 8x. And then I have this 1. And then be careful because I have negative. I squared is -1 times 15. That's what this chunk is right here. So obviously this becomes positive and this becomes positive 15. Okay, so I have 1 plus 15 over here, which makes 16. Okay. And then I know this looks like your answers do not match, but be careful because I can factor an 8 out of here. And when I factor an 8 out of here, then I will get 2x squared plus x plus 2. And yes, they do match. Okay? All right. Last problem right here, and by the way, you might want to look at just the very end of the last problem if you fast forwarded. You might want to look at the end of number 6 really quick, okay? Otherwise, here's number 7. And this one has 5 roots to it, so we have to kind of be careful. So one of the roots right here is x equals 0. That's no problem. Another root, you'll have x equals positive 4, and then x equals negative 4. And then, of course, x equals positive 4i, and x equals negative 4i. So I want each of those set equal to 0. So obviously the first one's already set equal to 0. If I do this second one, I will have x minus 4 equals 0, and x plus 4 equals 0, and x minus 4i equals 0, and x plus 4i equals 0. Now, you can kind of do this in any order, but I think it's helpful to sort of partner the ones that you need to multiply together. I'm going to bring down just this x right here. So these are the factors that I'm looking at. I have x right here. Then I am going to take these two, x minus 4 and x plus 4, and I am going to multiply them. So I'm going to take x minus 4 and I'm going to take x plus 4, and I am going to multiply them. Okay, so, and I can't forget about this x that's right here. I just am going to keep bringing it down. When I FOIL this out, of course, you'll have x times x, which is x squared. And then you will have your outsides are positive 4x, and your insides are negative 4x. And positive 4x and negative 4x, of course, combine to make 0. And then your last, negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. Okay? Then I'm going to partner these two again, and I'm going to take x minus 4i and x plus 4i, and I am going to multiply those out. So when I FOIL that out, then I will have x times x, which is x squared. Your outsides and your insides will drop because I have positive 4xi and negative 4xi. And then your last, 4i times 4i, will be 16i squared. But remember that I squared is negative 1, so 16 times negative 1 is going to give you negative 16. Okay, we're getting closer. Now I am going to, and you can do this in any order that you want, but you need to distribute somehow. So I am going to take this one now and this one, and I'm going to distribute. Okay, so here we go. I have x squared times x squared becomes x to the 4th. Here I have negative 16x squared, and here I also have negative 16x squared. And when I combine that, oops, sorry, something's not right. Oh, you know what? I just goofed up. Hang on, you guys probably caught my mistake before I did. Negative 4i times positive 4i should have been negative 16i squared. So then we have negative 16 times negative 1, which is positive 16. Okay, so whew, caught that just in time. Anyways, so now back to this. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. And then when you take your outsides, you get positive 16x squared. When you take your insides, you get negative 16x squared. So they cancel. And then negative 16 times positive 16 gives you negative 256. And then don't forget that you have this x that you have to keep bringing down. Don't forget about that. Really easy to do. And then, of course, distribute the x through. And when you distribute the x through, you'll have x to the 5th minus 256x. So that was a lot of work, but it does match the quadratic form equation that I gave you at the beginning. Whew,